Hello there and welcome to the Bicycle Diaries. It's finally the moment of truth. If you've been watching these vlogs over the last few weeks, you'll know that I'm planning on riding the Isle of Wight Randonnee tomorrow. Now the ride is 110 kilometres, it's very hilly and it's very tough around the entire island. Now my plan at the moment is to ride the short route, but who knows, I could have a moment of madness tomorrow and end up riding the long route. We'll just have to see. But it's actually the day before, so today's Saturday, and I'm just doing the final preparations in time for tomorrow's ride. So my first decision that I will need to make is which of my bikes I will actually ride. As you can see, I have a few bikes that I can choose from, but it's basically going to boil down to two. So that's my new Cannondale or my slightly older Trek. Now both bikes have their advantages. The Cannondale is very new. I only bought that last November. The gearing on that is quite low, so that's going to help me with the climbs that I'll be facing on the island. But the disadvantage of the Cannondale is that I had a bike fit with it recently and I don't think I'm 100% used to the new position. By contrast, the Trek here is, I've had it for about 4 years and I've made a few tweaks to the position in that time, but at the moment it's absolutely spot on for position. It feels absolutely amazing. The disadvantage though is that the gearing isn't quite as low as the Cannondale, even though I do have a 34/28 compact chain set on there. I rode the Isle of Wight last year on this bike and it was tough. I mean, it's going to be tough whichever bike I choose. I think it will be slightly easier from a gearing point of view on the Cannondale, but I think I'm going to have to go with the Trek because the position does also count for a hell of a lot. Having chosen the Trek, that comes with Di2, so that's an electronic gear system. So the next thing I'll have to do is charge the battery, because the last thing I want is for that to run out halfway around the island. If that happens, basically I will be stuck in one gear and I won't be able to change it. Mechanical just doesn't miraculously somehow take over, so I really need to make sure that I have full power for that Di2 system. Well, I suppose I'm as ready as I will ever be. The bike's all cleaned and lubed, the tyres are all pumped up, the Garmin's fully charged, the Di2 battery's fully charged. All that's left now is for me to charge my battery with a good night's sleep so I can get up bright and early tomorrow morning. I really am not a morning person, yet here we are bright and early on a Sunday morning ready to ride the Isle of Wight Randonnee. I've checked the weather and here locally it's actually really cold with a real feel of -1 degree Celsius. They say it's going to get a bit warmer out on the ride, but it's going to struggle to get into double figures today. So I'm going to be wrapped up in my winter kit, which is one hell of a contrast when you compare it to last year, because that was about 30 degrees and clear blue skies and beautifully sunny. I don't know what the world's coming to. From home, I'll do the short drive down to Southsea where I'll park the car. From there, I'll ride the 3 kilometres or so to the ferry port where I'm booked in on the 0800 sailing. I'll also meet up with my chum Paul, who will be joining me for today's ride. The plan today is to take things nice and easy. Basically, I don't know how long I'm going to be cycling for, whether I do the 55 route or the 110 route. So I'm going to do my classic of a 90 revs per minute cadence and trying to keep my heart rate between 70 and 75% of my maximum heart rate. So I'll have something left in the tank, hopefully, if I do the long route. It's bloody cold. Oh, it's so cold.
My fingertips are still recovering from my journey.
Meet Paul. He's actually a runner, but he's been training for the Randonnee since January.
Yeah,
That's horrible. Yeah, not too bad. So.
Yeah.
On the left is Kathy and on the right is Helly. I know them from my old cycling club and have been riding with them for quite a while. Also joining us is Paul's nephew Joe and his chum Sam, and someone called Marion, who's a member of the Jolly Good Velo Facebook group. The Randonnee takes place every Maybank holiday weekend, and literally hundreds of cyclists sail over from the mainland to take part in the event. Crossing the Solent from Portsmouth to Fishbourne on the island takes around 40 minutes, and the 0800 crossing is nearly always full. So if you're thinking of doing it next year, I strongly suggest you book in advance. Before you've had time for a cup of tea and a sticky bun, it's time to return to the car decks and start wheeling your bikes off the boat. The idea is you ride around the island visiting a series of checkpoints where you get a stamp in a brevet card. Normally our first checkpoint is at a place called Wootton, which is about 2 kilometres from the ferry, but this year we were checked in on the boat, so we don't need to bother. Instead we just head for the first official checkpoint at Bembridge. That's us over on the island. Now we've just got the ride to do. Thankfully it's warmed up a little bit. We're just heading out of St Helens now and on our way to the first checkpoint at Bembridge. What do you think of it so far, Paul?
So far it's a little bit too comfortable, I think, at the moment. Far too many downhills and nice roads, so I'm bracing myself for something maybe a little bit more challenging later. How far are we in now?
12.4 kilometres.
Okay, so
another, if we're doing the long one, 90 odd kilometres.
Okay.
and most of that's going to be climbing.
Right, so we're just coming into Bembridge now. So this will be our first
Checkpoint, yeah.
official checkpoint.
Thank you. That's the first checkpoint at Bembridge. We're only 15-16 kilometres in. Another 40 if we're doing the short. Another 89-90 if we're doing the long one. It's not going to be a long stop, so we'll hit the road fairly soon. Sure where we are. All I know is we're between the first checkpoint at Bembridge and the second one at Alston. This is where the climbing really starts. The roads just tend to just up and down relentlessly now. It's just a question of just gritting your teeth, enjoying the descent, and just getting on with the business in hand when the road goes up. That's the second checkpoint. That came on us quick. My memory seems to say that it's quite a long way from here to the third checkpoint. This is also the decision where we do the long route or the short route. Let's see. I'll tell you at the next checkpoint. What do you think of it so far?
Yeah, really good. Well, it's a lot better. There's so many people, I didn't think there'd be that many people, to be honest. So yeah, it's been really good. Yeah.
Cool. Looks like I've committed to the long route. Let's hope I don't regret it 500 metres down the road. At the Alverstone checkpoint, we said cheerio to Marion, who had only ever planned to ride the short route anyway, as she was off to have afternoon tea with someone she knew on the island. For the rest of us, we were pushing on with the long route, and I don't mind admitting that I was a little nervous, as last year I felt pretty good at this stage, only to quickly run out of steam and for the ride to become really difficult. What do you think, Kelly?
I think it's bloody lovely.
Here we are at the, I think it's the third checkpoint, and we are 37 kilometres in, so yeah, still a way to go yet.
20 miles to Yarmouth.
20 miles, yeah. 20 miles.
Thank you.
A couple of hills, but not too
Just left the last checkpoint. We're just near Ventnor, so apparently it's another 20 miles, which is 30 kilometres or so to the next checkpoint at Yarmouth, and that's going to be a tough old 20 miles as well. Feeling pretty good at the moment, Yeah, so it's just ticking the pedals away and getting round. And getting around started right there with the first long climb of the day, Black Gang. That's us over Black Gang down, and we're just descending the other side now. Just going through Mottistone now, on our way to the next checkpoint at Yarmouth, but we have to negotiate the infamous military road. This is it, this is Military Road. This is where the climbing really starts. So we'll climb, descend, climb, descend, climb, and then it's about 40 kilometres back to the finish at Wootton. Military Road is 2 long, hard climbs. And like most climbs, it's all a question of effort management. Not easy when you've already been riding pretty hard for 3 hours. I tried my best to stay on Paul's wheel, but he soon managed to pull away from me. Plus, I also ran out of gears, so spinning was not an option. From here, I had no choice but to chug away, grinding the pedals round as best I could. To make things just a little bit more difficult, the temperature had plummeted and there was a strong side wind coming in off the sea. What did you think of that, Paul?
Oh yeah, that was tough. Yeah, the wind really didn't help us there, did it? Right in our faces as we were coming up there. So is that the worst of it, or is there a little bit more to come?
A bit more to come.
That's really good. Hey? We're okay, good. It's alright though, yeah, it's going okay.
With the day's toughest climb done, it was time to enjoy the descent into freshwater, even if it was only a temporary celebration before the road started its usual up and down. It wasn't long though before we were at the next checkpoint. Here we are at the Yarmouth checkpoint, feeling pretty good. We've done about 65, 66 kilometres. The next checkpoint will be Cowes, and then it'll be Wootton, and then we're back where we began, back on the ferry back to the mainland. Fantastic. I always underestimate how long this section of the ride takes. For some reason, I have it in my head that it only takes about an hour to ride from Yarmouth back to Wootton, even though it's around 40 kilometres. Thankfully, the terrain is starting to flatten out slightly, or at least what passes for flat on the island. When I set out this morning, I had some pretty specific ideas about heart rate and cadence, but it turns out that I needn't have worried. The position felt so good on the bike, I found that I could quite happily ride at lower revs in higher gears and cruise along.
82.5 kilometres in, it's the furthest I've ridden this year. Feeling really good, I've got this.
One of the main delays on this part of the route is the floating bridge at Cowes. Last year we were held up here for more than 30 minutes. Once off the bridge, we rode through the checkpoint and were on the final leg.
There we go, that's 100 kilometres. I don't think I've ridden 100k since probably the last time I rode the Isle of Wight Randonnee last year. Last year I felt absolutely shattered. This year I'm tired, but I'm not too bad actually. Not quite at the finish line, we've got about another 10k according to my calculations, but we've got the wind behind us and we should be set fair for home. And that, boys and girls, is the Isle of Wight Randonnee, and the long route, not the short one.
Supposedly, they burnt what, 9,000?
No, 2,900 calories
today, so that's got to be worth a few Mars bars, isn't it?
and Snickers. You can just smash into those and not feel guilty. Like, I've earned these.
All in all, a fantastic day on the bike. I have to say that I rather surprised myself after setting out with every intention of riding the short route and then not only riding the long route but riding it a fair bit stronger than I did last year. It just goes to show that sometimes you're stronger than you imagine. The only downside of the day was the weather. It stayed cold and grey pretty much all day. At least it didn't rain. That would have made it pretty miserable. As it turned out, it was a great ride with great company. Thank you to Paul, Marion, Sam, Joe, Kathy and Helly for coming along. Thank you also to the Wayfarers Club on the island who organised the whole thing. Absolutely amazing when you consider that it's a completely free event. And finally, a big thank you to everyone that has sent me messages of support and encouragement. You really have inspired me. I'm already looking forward to next year's ride. Thanks for watching.